Hi folks, this is going to be the first of two lectures on MLA Citation. This lecture will focus on the development of in-text citations. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over the rules, if you will, of MLA Citations in this lecture. And in the module where this lecture is located, you will find a handout that provides demonstrations or models of these techniques, if you will. So first let me say, while we're talking about citation of any sort, why it's important. Primarily we want to properly cite our sources in order to avoid plagiarism, or what in the academic community is considered intellectual theft. There are varieties of penalties that go along with plagiarism. They do vary a bit from school to school, but in general, on a first offense, you could easily fail the course and or get the lowest possible grade on that particular assignment. And in some cases, you can be expelled from a university for that offense. Now, in all honesty, I don't want to encourage plagiarism, obviously, but expulsion usually does not occur with the first offense. Okay, in this lecture, I'm going to go over how to cite the three main types of content that we would need to cite in a text, which are standard quotes, block quotes, and plot summaries. Here are some of the guidelines for a standard quote. Just so you know, a standard quote is any quote that when you type it out on the page, it doesn't matter how many, in MLA, it doesn't matter how many words are actually in the quote, it doesn't matter how many sentences are in the quote. In MLA, it's all based on how many lines on the page are taken up by that quote when you type it out. Now, a standard quote is any quote that occupies 3 lines or less on the page. When that's the case, you would put quotation marks around the words that you're copying in your source. If the author's name appears earlier in that paragraph, or preferably earlier in the sentence that introduces that quote, you would just need the page numbers in the in-text citation. Now, the in-text citation itself, as you'll see from the handout, is the content in parentheses that goes after either your quote or that goes after the quote or the plot summary, excuse me. Now, if the author's name does not appear, immediately before the quote or earlier in the paragraph, so that the reader can easily diagnose that association, then you would need to put both the author's last name and page number in the in-text citation. And just as a quick sort of footnote here, when I talk about the page numbers, this only pertains to sources that have what we call fixed page numbers, like a printed book or a PDF file. Okay, a little bit more on standard quotes. If the sentence that you're quoting ends in a question mark, see the example here. Question mark goes inside the quotation page number and period after. If the author's name wasn't used, that would go there in front of the page number as well. Okay, Block quote, a little bit different. Any quote that when you originally type it out occupies 4 lines or more on the page. You would need to start that quote on a new line, indent the entire left margin half an inch. You do not put quotation marks around a block quote. The indentation that I just mentioned is what signifies to the reader that you're quoting in this instance. The period at the end of the quote will come right at the end of the sentence, unlike in a plot summary or standard quote where the period goes after the in-text citation. And you should also just stylistically try to avoid starting or ending a paragraph with a block quote. Okay. Plot summary, in terms of the citation, it's much like how you would do a standard quote. You'll have the content, the in-text citation, and then the period after the in-text citation. The difference, of course, with a plot summary or paraphrase content, yes, we do need to cite paraphrase content, is that none of those words are going to be designated as a quote either through indenting or the use of quotation marks. I've gone over that bottom bullet point here, just a little different wording, but as always, if you have questions about this content, you're welcome to pause the video, reflect, or otherwise contact me. Okay, internet sources are a little bit different because they don't have what we would call fixed page numbers. Yeah, you can print out the internet content and count up the pages, but that can vary from computer to computer based on browser settings, font size, this sort of thing. So, with internet sources, you cite the author's last name and paragraph numbers if the paragraph numbers are provided. Now also, if the paragraph numbers are not provided, you have to put the author's last name in the in-text. That's the preferred way to go about it. You only need to cite the paragraph numbers if they're numbered for you by the author of that source. Now, one of the challenges with internet sites is that sometimes you'll look at the content and it will not have anyone or any organization listed as the author. If that's the case, first off, you need to reflect on the idea of how reliable is this source if no one is willing to take credit for it. Okay, so remember that. But if you still want to use it, what you would do is you would put a shortened form of the article's title in the in-text citation. As I've done here, you see the full title, the shortened title. If there are paragraph numbers available, you would do comma, paragraph PARS signifying more than one. If there's just one paragraph you would do that you're citing, you would just do PAR, period, omit the S and then the number. Okay? And as always, folks, if you have questions or concerns, you're always welcome to contact me. I'm here to help. I want to help. I want you to do well and succeed. The other thing that I would recommend is, as you're developing your papers and using and citing content from outside sources, try to vary the types of citations that you use. In other words, don't just use standard quotes. Don't just use block quotes. That's a huge faux pas. to be honest with you, because then you just clog up a bunch of paper and the professor will lose sight of your ideas. And so you want to vary, mix it up. Use some plot summaries, use some standard quotes, use some block quotes. That's it for now. As I always say, if you have questions or concerns, you're always welcome to contact me. Have a good day, evening, whatever the case might be, and goodbye.